Hello, this is Monique McDonald. And if you're looking for more one-on-one help with your voice and how to make it magnetic, I want to invite you to check out my coaching packages at themagneticvoice.com. Then click Transform with Monique and book a complimentary connection call. Let's see if we can find a package for you that will fit all of your needs. I'm so grateful for your listening to the Magnetic Voice podcast, and I can't wait to meet you and continue the conversation. Take care. See you soon.
Welcome to the Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 62, Awake, Aware, and Enthusiastic. And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald and I'm here with the beautiful Shannon Kropf.
Hello, Monique. How are you today?
I'm fantastical.
Excellent.
And excited to be here with you today. Oh, can you believe it's April 8th?
I really can't.
What?
I was just thinking the other day at the end of March, I was like, what? Last night was New Year's Eve. What the heck?
Yeah. It's that first quarter just went poof.
Yep, absolutely. You know, my dad always used to say, the older you get, the faster time passes. And I was like, yeah, I know. But then to experience it happening is a totally different thing.
Yeah. It's an interesting phenomenon of like, I remember being 12 and 13 and be like, when is it going to be my birthday? It just drags on and
when
on and on.
When will school be over? Yeah. And when summer break was forever.
Right?
It was like this whole magical landscape of summer fun to be had.
Yeah.
And now I look at the break, I'm like, is that it?
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. And it just makes you really focus on the moments. That's the only thing that because if I focus on how time is traveling,
right,
there's never enough time. Right. And if I focus on gratitude for the moments, good or bad.
Yeah.
That's the trick, right?
Right. And enjoying the moments. I was just saying yesterday in the community that Dave and I run that we are so sort of driven to get to the next point and do the next thing and be the next thing, whatever that is, that often we forget to like take the win and celebrate that moment. Like, and even when you're waiting to hear if it's going to be a win, that's a fun time too. Like, so just, I'm with you, cherishing those moments, good or bad, life is life.
Life is life.
That was articulate, wasn't it?
It actually was. Life is life. And as we are getting ready to celebrate Easter, I'm thinking about those moments that you're talking about where we're, that thing when you're in the car and you've been doing errands and all of a sudden you're home and it's like, wait.
Oh, you have no, how did I drive here without killing myself or somebody else?
I know that I
was completely unconscious during this time.
Well, and things go on automatic, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Things go on automatic. And especially in the world in which we live in, where there's so much information coming
Mm-hmm.
at us, and, the political climate and all the
Right.
news if you really listen and pay attention, you won't get out
Mm-hmm.
of bed. I mean,
That's true. It's true. I had to, I go on like 3 months on, 3 months off with the news and just being aware of what's happening in the world. Because after about 3 months, I can't take it. So I just take some time off and I've often said, kind of one of my platforms is I don't think that we were made to be practically omnipotent.
mm,
You know,
that's interesting.
I'm not sure that our souls were built to handle this much information in this much detail about this much of the world. If
I
you look
would
at the history of mankind, we never travel more than 5 or 10 miles from home.
Right. So there is a built-in numbing, I think, that
Hmm.
we are doing in order to survive and adapt
Yes.
in this time.
Yep.
And one of the things, I wanted to talk about, and we're calling our segment today Awake, Aware, and Enthusiastic,
Woo!
because staying awake, staying aware
Hmm.
takes a little more work than it used
Mm,
to, I think.
absolutely.
And I know that for me, these days, all of my energy is going into this box, this beautiful box called the computer.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking to people on the box.
Yes.
I'm looking at people on the box. I'm
Yes.
typing in the box. I'm looking up things in the box. It's about me and the box.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I wake up and look up, and oh my God, there's a world out there.
Hmm.
And as I'm going for my walks in the morning, and I'm remembering trees and
What are
earth,
those?
and the daffodils are in bloom here in New York, and this balance that we have to come through. And it especially feels to me like as we are about to move into Easter,
Hmm.
and this whole idea of going to sleep or
Mm.
becoming dead
Hmm.
to things that no longer serve us
Hmm.
in order to awaken, in order to become more aware,
Hmm.
to celebrate with enthusiasm, even when life gets a little crazy.
Right.
Um, it reminds me of a story. I was invited to sing a competition of one of my favorite sopranos. I can't remember if I told this story here or not, but her name is Birgit Nilsson. And she was, if not the greatest dramatic soprano of the 20th century, she was definitely one of them.
Mm.
And she was one of my heroes. And I was so excited to go and get to sing for her in this competition. And, it was one of those moments where I prepared and prepared and prepared. And when I got on stage and actually had that moment, I was really enthusiastic. And
Mm.
when I walked off of stage, it was at Carnegie Hall, the prelims.
Oh
And
my
when I
God.
walked, right, yeah. When I walked off stage, I thought to myself, yeah, there are things I maybe would like to do better,
Hmm.
but that was my very best in this
Ah,
moment.
yes.
And you walk off, and that feeling of,
Hmm.
in this moment, I am my
Hmm.
very, very best. And of
Yes.
course, we can always be better, but that I had that satisfaction of, even
Yes.
if I could have done things different, they may not have been better.
Right.
Right? Right?
Right.
So the way this worked was you're then to go home, and if you're advanced to the finals, they call you. And then you come
Mm.
to Carnegie Hall and get to sing the finals on the big stage. So I go home and I'm psyched. Like I am
Yeah.
ready. And I am looking at my telephone and it is not ringing.
Oh, jeez.
And I asked my husband at the time, I think maybe there may be something wrong with my phone. Would you just call my phone so I can,
Right.
like, is it working? And he calls my phone and it's working. And it gets to about 5, 6 o'clock and the finals are at 8. And I realize I'm not going to get the call.
Mm,
And so then I went down that rabbit hole of I must
right.
be out of my mind, because
Mm.
if I really did sing my best
Mm-hmm.
and was the best that I can be, and that wasn't enough. And then, right, you just go down
Right.
that. And I
Oh my God,
I felt
yes.
myself totally collapse in on myself. I
Mm.
felt like a fraud. I felt like I was a
Ugh.
fool. And who do I think I am? And I felt, that feeling where it's just, it
Mm-hmm.
plummets and you
Oh,
get
yeah.
that feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Yes.
And I caught myself.
Hmm.
And it was really a defining moment in my life, because I had always heard about not letting outer circumstances dictate
Mm-hmm.
who you are and how you
Right.
handle life. And I was a big subscriber in that. But
Yeah.
this moment was the
Mm.
challenge,
Right. Right.
right? Because,
Well, it addresses identity and talent and performance and all of those like super personal things, right?
and yes, who I understand myself to be, and to
Mm-hmm.
have come from that high of walking off the
Right.
stage feeling like I was at the height of my powers, the best I could be,
Mm-hmm.
to the outer circumstances saying, nope,
Yep.
nope. And so, Shannon, I felt myself falling into that despair
Mm-hmm.
and into truly feeling dead inside and
Yeah.
numbing out in order to handle the pain and the grief, right?
Yep.
And I said, no. And do you know what I did? I got up. I dressed in my diva finery. I even put on a cape. I
Oh
put
my
on a
God.
gown. I dressed as though I was going to the finals as a winner. I put eyelashes on, for God's
Oh,
sake.
that is a big deal.
Serious, right? And I went to Carnegie Hall.
Shut up.
I did. And I walked into Carnegie Hall as though I was a winner,
Mm-hmm.
because I decided that I was a winner.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I decided I wasn't going to let the outer circumstances dictate who I am.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And do you know, it just so happens I was about to enter the elevator to go up to the floor in Carnegie
Mm-hmm.
Hall where this winner's gala was being held. And in walks Miss Birgit Nielsen. And I really didn't know what to say. In fact, I didn't
Like,
speak because I
Yeah.
didn't know what to say. And she took one look at me and she said, "You look absolutely beautiful. Sing beautifully tonight." And I said, "But Miss Nielsen, I am not one of the finalists." And Shannon, you should have seen her face. She sort of got this puzzled look on her face and tilted her head to one side. And she said, "But you floated all those high notes and your voice is so beautiful."
Oh.
And I just smiled and said,
That is
"Thank you very much."
wonderful.
And I went and I watched the finals, and I got to sit there feeling, now, did I win or did I not win? Right?
Right.
I
Right.
felt like the winner. And so it taught me such a huge lesson about what life appears to be
Mm-hmm.
and what we get to decide on the inside. Because
Right.
yes, okay, I'm not I'm not irrational. I didn't take home the prize. I didn't.
Right. Right.
However, what I know about life is one day you take home the prize and one
Mm-hmm.
day you don't. And
Right.
that's just how it goes.
Right.
And this was a day I didn't take home the prize, but I didn't let
You
it define
Yeah.
me.
You still won. You didn't
I
take home the prize,
won.
but you still won.
I won. And I heard the validation and
Mm-hmm.
what essentially I went there for,
Right. Right.
because she was my hero
Yeah.
and she loved what I did. So this has taught me so much. And I think one of the biggest lessons is I made a decision about how I was going to feel.
Right.
Most of us feel victim
Mm.
to how we feel.
Yeah.
And, this is how I feel and this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we don't we forget that we do have a say
Right.
over how we respond
Yeah.
to what life brings us. And I felt myself going to, not to be dramatic, but it does feel like death. I noticed my breathing
Mm-hmm.
slowed down. My whole body slowed down. Everything
Mm-hmm.
was depressed and dark and
Mm-hmm.
very still and scary.
Yeah.
Because especially in contrast to how I felt when I had walked off the stage,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Where I was so vibrant and alive and enthusiastic and just
Mm-hmm.
all of my senses awake and aware, and then going to this. So the lesson is we're going to have those moments.
Yeah.
We are going to have those moments in life where our expectation isn't what life gives us.
Mm-hmm.
And the part of us that wants to die and give up
Yeah.
is always there.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. Just like the part of us that is jubilant and enthusiastic and alive and awake and aware is also always there.
Yeah.
And we decide which one we're going to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And it really isn't that one is better than the other, even though it appears that way. I feel like one of the beautiful points of the Easter story is that the death had to happen, or the rebirth wouldn't mean anything.
Right. Absolutely.
And so because life is life, as you so aptly put it, it's going to bring what it brings.
Yeah.
And part of being able to be the magnetic voice no matter what is to remain and remember.
Yeah.
Awake, aware, and enthusiastic, no matter what life brings. Welcome to being awake, aware, and enthusiastic. Today, I want you to imagine that you have a twinkle inside. You have a little tingle inside. And I want you to tune into this excitement this something alive, awake, and aware inside you. Enthusiasm is one of our greatest powers. It's one of the most lovely places to live from. We are confident and passionate, and when we mix together confidence and passion, it creates enthusiasm. We are ready to step into whatever life is unfolding in front of us with confidence, with certainty, with the passion of knowing who we are. There's so many times in life where it feels dark, dismal, like you may be hitting your head against a wall or trying to get over this obstacle that has been in your way. And today, I invite you to throw your hat over the wall. Just throw it over there and trust that you will create a way to go and get it. You will create a way to get over the obstacle, to go through the obstacle, to dig a hole under the obstacle. You will find a way because you choose to remain awake, aware, and enthusiastic. Because you choose to remember that sometimes obstacles appear in our life so that we can remember who we are, so that we can tap into the part of us that is that tingle, that tickle on the inside, that life force that propels us forward, that knows what we are questioning, that knows even when we say, I can't, or it's too hard, or somebody does it better than I do. There is that within you that jumps right over those thoughts into, it's me. It's me. I'm alive. I'm awake. I'm aware. And I choose to be enthusiastic. I choose to know that if I am breathing and my heart is beating and I can connect to the divine, the magic, the vision, I can create it. I can become it. When we manage to stay in that awake state, the world becomes magical. When we choose to see everything shimmering with divine light, even the challenges, even the rejections, even the grief, and we remember they are all part of it. They are all part of us. And when we allow them in and stop pushing them away, figure it out, we are divinely guided through to the other side, through to who we truly are. Thank you for your courage and your voice. Thank you for your willingness to stay awake, aware, and enthusiastic. We bless you with light and love as you make your way into the beauty and magic that is life. And so it is. Amen.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.